All right. So thanks for hopping on. For those that have hopped on to meeting, I'm going to go ahead and hit a couple things real quick that I know are on the front of everyone's mind. I'll have all the schedules posted for everything from U4 through U10 by tomorrow morning. I think most of them are already posted, but there's a couple age groups that I still have to go through and post. And then uniforms, I'll be sending out emails and information about those coming out of this weekend. I know I have a lot of questions from individuals about if they purchased or didn't purchase. So I'll get all the information to everyone about what to do for that. And then I think those are the two main issues. Practice is on Monday. Practice is on. I will email all the coaches and let them know to contact their teams if they are canceling for any reason. But otherwise, the fields are open. We'll be out there and we'll practice tomorrow as usual, since most people are back in town. So President's Day, we will be open at the fields. Only other thing, first weekend of play is coming up. So the U4s the U4s start Wednesday, Thursday, and then Saturday for whichever session they signed up for. U5s through U7s, their first session is this Saturday. And then the U8s through the U10s, they have their first games this Friday. The U11 and aboves, they are practicing this week, but the schedules are still being finalized by CASA. So they're still working on getting their game schedules set for the U11 and above groups. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here with you guys real quick. All right. So on here, I'm just going to go through a few different things. I think it's helpful, even if you're coaching a certain age group. I know a lot of people have multiple kids in different programs and different age groups. So I'm just going to go through the breakdown of all of it, so everyone kind of knows what they're looking at and the global philosophy we've got between all of the programs. The mission statements on here, we typically read it, but I won't read it all to you all the way through, but remember, our main job here is to promote enjoyment in the sport and provide opportunities for all kids to participate in these sports and to learn. It is a recreational program, not a competitive program in the LTYA soccer recreational program. So for philosophy, so divisions, I just want to touch base on that one more time. I know I've talked about it a few times, but in the past, soccer is a little bit strange in that we do what is called birth year. So for the select programs and the older kids, they're divided into the year they were born. So kids born in 2012 play with 2012s, 2013s, 14s, and so on and so forth. That's what we do in the Lake Travis Elite program and in all the select programs, because that's what they do in the national team system. So we use birth year in soccer because of U.S. soccer. But for the recreational program, I've tried this spring to transition it back to grade a little bit, meaning that, I want to get it to where the third graders, the second graders, the first graders know what division to register for, because I know a lot of people like to play with their classmates. That being said, you can play in a division that is not your grade level. You just can't be too old to do so. For example, if you are a third grader born in 2013, you can play in the U9 age group, or you can play in the U10 age group. Whereas if you are born in 2012 and are a third grader, technically you cannot play in the U9 division. You have to play in the U10 division because you're too old. The idea of not letting the older kids play down is that those younger kids can play up with their teammates without being afraid of playing kids that end up being almost 3 years older than them. So as we go forward into the fall season and such, I want to make sure that coaches kind of start to understand that, so that as you guys get team requests and player requests, we can help make sure everyone's getting with their friends and who they want to be with. I'll touch base on this again down the line. I just kind of want to always throw that out there so that we can start having a smooth line of communication, so that parents and coaches know where they should be registering to be with their friends and neighbors. The other big thing for coaching for all of you guys is, whether we're doing practice or games or any of it, this is a developmental league. Even at the Lake Travis Elite level, we are a developmental program, and our number one goal is to make sure that these kids love soccer. If they don't love it, if they don't like it, if they don't want to be out there, then it doesn't matter how good they are at it, because they're just not going to put any time or energy into it, and it'll be a chore rather than something that they do with internal motivation and something that they want to get out there and spend time on. So number one, our main job on all levels across all programs is just to make sure these kids have a good experience learning the sport and the game so that it's something that they want to do. Number 2 is teamwork. It's a great opportunity to learn some life lessons with other people and to learn skills where, yes, we are all about helping individual players get better, but also in the context of holding, teammates accountable and making sure that, we're working with other people to have success and learn those skills, lifelong skills of working with other people. Number 3 is challenges. The biggest thing I tell all my teams, and, I really do mean it, poor outcomes are not a problem. If you make a mistake, if you lose a game, if something doesn't go your way, they are all just opportunities to embrace challenges and view them as a growth and betterment situation. So, whether it's falling over trying to kick the ball, or scoring on your own goal, or, getting a terrible call called against you, or whatever you can do, just everything that presents itself as a barricade to what you're trying to achieve, to me, is an opportunity to become better and challenge yourself either mentally, physically, or skill wise. So please encourage the kids to make mistakes, to fail, to take players on. If they lose the ball, to go get it back. Encourage them to try things that they may not have success at. And at times, that's not going to play out in your favor, but that's okay, because in the long run, we're not building them to be the very best soccer player they can be this season, or even the very best athlete they can be this season. We just want them to be better equipped so that when they're 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, they're in a better place to be successful at whatever it is they choose, with the little lessons we can teach them here about embracing challenges and not being afraid of failure. So last one is people and players of action. This is my other, big thing as far as when we're coaching and we're giving these kids tips on what to do. It's, don't be patient. Don't just wait for the action to come to you. See what you can do to make something happen. If you are standing in a game and you're just standing there waiting, don't just stand there and wait. Run forward, go and get the ball, or move into a space and see if you can, be plotting or planning what your next move is, but finding a way for them to be engaged all the time, so that, they're not waiting for life to happen to them, but they're going and creating things and making things happen. Because even if something, bad happens, you've learned from it, and if something good happens, well, you find out what works well. So those are the 4 main things: just making sure they're enjoying it, they're working with their teammates, learning those skills, challenging themselves, and just being people that go out and participate and make themselves a part of things that are happening. The gameplay. So real quick, what I'm going to do as we go through this is I'll basically break this down into each age group. We'll talk about their practice and what a practice session looks like and what you can be doing in there. And basically, when I'm sending out a weekly session, you'll be able to see in those weekly sessions exactly what I'm trying to accomplish in that breakdown for you guys. And again, when I send out the weekly examples for the session, I'll do it for U5 through U10 and above. Basically, when I send them, use them if you want, use pieces of it, use none of it. I just want to make sure you guys have resources to use as you'd like, so that you feel well equipped to give the kids the best experience they can. So the U5s to the U4s aren't on here. The U4s are all pro coach driven. So like I'll run the Wednesday and Thursday U4 sessions. They'll have me or another coach, but mostly me, another coach every single time they come out there. And it's just going to be introduction of soccer. And we'll run that and kind of have the parents hang there. The U5 and U6s, they'll be 3v3 or 4v4. Most of the rosters, I believe, are right at about 7 players. So depending on how many each team has on a given Saturday, you can play at 3v3, 4v4, however the coaches want to do it to get the kids playing and make sure, they've got a break. If it's hotter, maybe you do 3v3. If it's cold, maybe you do 4v4. So more people are running and moving. The U7 and U8 will always be 5v5. The U9s and U10s will be 7v7. And then as you move into U11 and U12, it goes 9v9. And then U13 and up is as big as it gets, the 11v11 games. So the U5 to U6 session structure, basically for this one, the first 25 minutes basically is going to be a practice portion. By the time kids get there and, get all set up, you'll kind of pull them in when they arrive and just kind of say hi, introduce them, make sure they're all ready to go, get them warmed up. We'll do a little 5-minute skill / fun game warm up. Then we'll have a little skill portion that you'll run. I'll send you probably 1 or 2 little skill portions. That way, if the kids aren't feeling one or it lasts 1 minute, you've got something to fall back on, because you never know what they're gonna pick up on any given day. And then we'll go from the little skill piece of it to a game that applies that skill in there. So for example, for the U5s to U6, for the 5-minute warm up, I might play a game of sit down, stand up, where basically the kids are all there. And if I tell them to sit down, they've got to stand up. So it's like the opposite game. If I tell them to stand up, they've got to sit down. So I just get them moving, get their brains going, and get them excited about playing. Then we'd go into a little skill portion where they do a little bit of dribbling and probably incorporate a move or two. We'll do those. And then maybe we'd go into the game where we play, a sharks and minnows game, where they're trying to dribble and they've got, 2 players in the middle trying to take their ball and everybody else is trying to get to the other side. And I'm just encouraging them to use those skills to get to the other side. And so play that. And then maybe there's one other game we throw into that in case sharks and minnows doesn't take us that far. Then maybe we also play a cone game where I put, 8 different cones out, and their job is they've got to dribble and stop the ball by a cone while, there are 2 sharks in that situation trying to come and take their ball before they can stop it, something like that. So those would kind of be the practice portion of it. And then we'd get straight into the game portion. The game portion will be run by the team's coach as well. And as the team's coach in the little game, basically going to bring them together. They can do a little cheer, get excited about it. And then they'll go out and they'll play in their positions. We'll talk about positions for the 5v5 and above, but basically for these guys, you don't need to worry too much about what your formation is or who's playing what position. Just make sure one person goes left, one person goes right, and one person's up a little bit higher, or however you want to do it. There's no right or wrong. Just get the 3 or 4 kids out there, and then you'll help sub them on and off. As they're playing, we'll do the new ball method for the U5s and U6, meaning basically, if the ball goes rolling out of bounds, just throw a new ball onto the field into space somewhere, so that instead of them staying clumped up, they can run to that space, and it just opens up the game. So instead of the ball always constantly being in a huddle and everybody surrounded by it, they have to run to the new spaces to find the ball, and it just keeps them moving and active, instead of stopping to, find a ball, throw it in, run out, grab it, come back. That being said, if there's a kid close, don't feel like you can't roll it to one kid and then roll it to the other team. Just make sure you guys as the coaches are, throwing them into different spaces so that both teams have an advantage. And to that point, if one team is scoring, 3, 4, 5 goals, throw the ball in front of that team that's scoring a ton, throw it in front of the other team's goal so they can go and get a goal here, even if it's a little bit uneven. Again, we're not keeping score. The main job is to have success, get out there, play, and, just keep them moving. The couple coaching points that I'm going to make for these U5s and U6s that you're going to make to them, and this will carry across all age groups, is basically just changing speed and direction. Like whenever they have the ball, can they find a way to get to a new space or get away from people rather than just going straight into the crowd? Can they find a way to wiggle their way out of that crowd, or that crazy, as I call it, into some space? And then with this change of speed, there's running really fast, but sometimes if you slow down a little bit and then go fast, that's equally as tricky. So just helping them learn those athletic abilities of changing speed and direction that you see in a cut in basketball, or, that a running back has to do, or a wide receiver, or, in volleyball when you're getting from one side of the court to the other side of the court, whatever it is, just teaching them those athletic fundamentals of being able to change speed and direction. And then again, finding spaces, attackers, meaning can they get out of the crowd? Can they get into a space where they can put the ball so that it's easier to get to the goal? Those are the main things for the U5 to U6. Again, I will send out a session. There will not be a referee for these guys. It'll just be the team's coaches that are out there. We will have pro coaches out at the fields on the Saturdays. So if there's a coach missing, or if you're having trouble, or if there's any issues, we will be bouncing around, helping fields, just keeping them moving, keeping kids engaged, helping coaches that are newer that might need some help. Or if, a coach ends up, being sick or not showing up one day, we will have people out there to help for those Saturday sessions. So you guys are not on your own. We'll have 3 or 4 of us out there each Saturday to kind of help manage that and keep things going and fun. For the U7s, the U7s are going to be very similar to the U5s and U6s and everything that I said. The pro coaches will still be out there. The U5s through U7s are all at BCMS. And for those that have done it before, we'll have 6 coned fields. Basically, each field is a different color. So there's a red field, an orange field, a yellow field, blue field. And so when you get your schedule, you will get the color field. And when they go there, there will be one field of the 6 colored fields, and you'll just go to your colored field. When you get to your color field for U5 and U6, you'll be there. That's the game you'll play. And then you'll have a different one probably the next weekend. For the U7s, it will be similar as it was in the U6. However, we'll have 3 green fields, and basically I'll have them marked 1, 2, and 3. I think the girls will always be on field 1. I think the boys will always be on field 2 is the way I ended up breaking it out. So it should be pretty easy for the U7s to find their field once they get there in whatever time slot you're in. And those those will be on one of the 2 grass fields, depending on which ones they decide to paint the lines on. They're going to see which one worked best, but all at BCMS, you're still parking the same as before. I will send out the maps and all of that this week prior to any of you guys going out there. So I'll send that out so everyone knows where they're headed. The big changes for this U7, again, the practice portion pretty much the same as U5s and U6s, still game based, still throwing some skills in with a little bit of fun prior to going into it. The other thing that I would add into this practice portion for the U7s is that you guys will have a lined half of the field. So if you want to work on, them understanding what a throw-in is, what a goal kick is, what a corner kick is. And again, I'll send this out, but my first practice with them before playing, I would just have them dribble your ball to where a corner kick is, dribble your ball to where the goal kick's taken, dribble your ball to where the kickoff is. All right, everybody dribble to where there's a throw-in, so you can just have them move around and make sure that they know what's what, and use that practice time to explain some of those basic rules of the game so that when they get into their scrimmage, they're understanding a little bit about what's happening and when. There won't be a ref at the U7 still. So the coaches are still, on the field, walking around, helping the kids, helping, navigate the game, making sure they know where to do things and helping it just kind of flow. And this one, we will do the stops and starts. When you're doing the restarts, so if it's a goal kick, if it's a corner kick, if it's a throw in, the biggest thing I'll encourage you guys to do is, if there's a ball, encourage the kids to throw it in quickly. Meaning if the ball goes out, have them grab it and then do a countdown. All right, ready, get it thrown in, 1, 2, 3, go, or throw, and so then they're keeping it moving. They're not standing there for, 30 seconds holding it, waiting to find someone to throw it to. If the throw-in's not perfect, that's okay. Over the course of the season, that's the idea, is that they start to learn how to do a throw-in quickly and how to do it correctly in their little practice portion, so that we can keep it fun and flowing and not become stagnant, and that we're just waiting for what we call set pieces, right? Anytime the ball is stopped in soccer, we call it a set piece. For the fouls, you guys can call fouls. You don't, the biggest thing is if somebody gets knocked over, we're not giving yellow cards. We're not trying to introduce indirect kicks at U7. Really, if someone falls over, just make sure the kid's okay, and you can put the ball down and just let the other team pass it in. They don't need to know the intricate details of how a free kick's taken right away. So, as long as, they get it moving again, that's no problem. Check on them both, put the ball down, let the ball start moving again. Or, worst case, if it's just 2 kids laying there, do new ball, right? Just throw a ball in, help those 2 kids get up and off the field, and let the other ones get playing, right? So you can throw one in for those other kids and navigate it from there and get it back to the 5v5 once that's sorted out. And again, we'll be out there to help navigate those if you have questions, but the fouls are not, we're not looking for you guys to really deal with that too much. Other thing is there is a goalkeeper. So we're adding the goalkeeper at U7. And my biggest thing with the goalkeepers is encourage them that they are superheroes. A goalkeeper is not something to be afraid of. A goalkeeper is a person that gets to be on the field and they can leave their box. They can run forward. We don't want them to have to be worried about, sure, the other team might score a goal if you leave your box, but that's okay. We want them to be active players. Like I said, I like a culture of action and movement. So if you're the goalie, great. You can push up. If the ball's on the other side of the field, come up out of your box. And then if it comes to you, you can kick it instead of picking up. Or if it comes in the box, you've got that superhero power where you get to use your hands where nobody else does. So feel free to go and get it anytime you can when it's in your area. And if the other team scores, that's okay. We want to encourage them to play, not be afraid of a goal, and just make sure that, we've got confident kids in doing that, and they don't get in this place where they're standing on their line, just hiding, scared a ball goes in, and now they hate goalie, right? So same thing with the handball. You know, if a kid at this U7 age, if they run out of the goal and, you know, it's a handball, just take it back in the box, say, hey, the line's right here, and let them throw it in. We don't need to scar anybody because, you know, they took one step out. We just explain it to them, back them up, and then go from there. You know, and if they do it 4 or 5 times as we get into the later half of the season, if we want to start implementing it a little bit, we can. But the biggest thing is that we are introducing the rules and making them confident about being an active part of the game. Those are the main things for U7. I'll kind of go through the chat here in a minute and just see if there's anything I'm missing on that. But I think that covers most of it. And again, we're out there for you guys if you need anything. All right. So the U8 practices. U8 practices, this will be very similar for U9 and U10. The only real thing that I'll change in my explanation here as I go through the U8 and above practices is just the skill introduction. And what that means is in soccer, we have 2 things, technical and tactical. Technical is your individual skill with the ball. So one player, one ball, whereas tactical are ideas outside of us. So meaning, you know, what can I do with the ball in relation to my opponents and my teammates? So once we start including decision-making, then we're talking about the tactical decisions. So at U8, most things you're going to be doing are technical based. You know, we just want them to become comfortable and confident with the ball at their feet. So anything they can do to dribble the ball and touch the ball as much as possible, you're doing great with it, because that's all we really want. So, you know, when I send things out, I'll have some skill-based thing at the beginning. So maybe it'll, a lot of the things that I send out will have to do with dribbling. Again, you can work on passing, you can work on shooting, you can work on anything you want to work on. A lot of things that I have will just incorporate a good amount of dribbling, because we want them, again, to be comfortable with the ball at their feet, because that's the one main difference about soccer is, can you do all of these athletic things while there's a ball at your feet? Passing, shooting, I'll incorporate those, with a lot of the focus being on the dribbling skill. Then when we'll go from the skill introduction, where it's more of a technical based thing, into some sort of game with application. Basically what I mean there is anything you do, let's say that you do a little dribbling game and you set out 10 cones, and the kids have to dribble through the 10 cones, and then they have to dribble all the way to the other end really fast, and then they come back. And so they're just practicing dribbling through cones and dribbling far. So they're working on their skills, you know. That's just a little technical skill that they're doing. Then what I might do is I might make it an application. So then instead of just being a skill with no time constraint or no opponent, maybe instead of that, I take away a few of the cones. And now what I've got to do is I've got to try and dribble through those cones and get to the other side as fast as I can. But we have 10 seconds to do it. So I put something where there's not a defender, there's a time constraint, which makes them work harder and have a little bit of pressure, but there's still no one trying to take it from them. If they do well with that, then maybe I add an opponent, right? So now instead it's me and my teammate, and, you know, there's one person, I have to dribble through the cones, but someone stands just past those cones. So as soon as I dribble through those cones, now, as soon as I'm clear, that person can come and try and get me, and I'm trying to get to the other side. So just adding those levels of pressure from times and opponents, that's that game application. I think the one I sent out last week was a 1v1 game. So basically, you know, you've just got one kid, you've got kids trying to dribble with the ball, and other kids trying to come and steal it from them, essentially. And then when I get to small-sided play is basically anything that is not a full game. So for example, for the U8s, a scrimmage is 5v5. So anytime they're playing 5v5, they're just scrimmaging. For small-sided, what we might do is play with offset numbers, meaning there's one team plays with 2 players and the other team plays with 1 player. So we're playing a 2v1 situation. So now we're encouraging dribbling, but obviously the 2 players, they've got the advantage of an extra person. So can they dribble and or pass to try and use that to their advantage to score? Now, can they just steal it, be super active, and go score a goal because they're the 1 player? And you could do it 3v1s if your team, you know, if you need those attackers to have a little bit more success, you could play 4v2s. Any kind of combinations and numbers you want is totally fine. And I'm going to show you guys a quick video on this one real quick. Let's see. And this is called Get Out of Here. So this is the easiest game we play. All right. So basically you've got two teams that are playing in this. And so you'll notice that all the kids are lined up on the other side. So this one we are doing even numbers. So they're playing 1v1 here. And you'll notice as soon as those kids scored, the next two kids come flying on. So this little girl in the yellow is taking a shot. They throw the ball out immediately. And now those kids are on and playing. So they're going to play 1v1 here. If it goes too far out, they're going to keep playing. As soon as the coach yells, get out, those two players are done. So they've yelled, get out. The next two are already coming flying on. So you can kind of control the pace of the game here. So if one thing starts lasting too long or they're not able to score, you can always just yell, get out, next, get the next group on. And so boom, there come those next kids. And so this one, that was a little bit slower version, a little bit more controlled. So that previous version that you were just watching, as it's a little bit more controlled, as they learn it, you want to start slowly, right? To make sure they get it, they understand the game. But now this one's going to be a little bit quicker because now they're understanding. And so now they can just go. So now there's two players on, they've started, boom, the next group's already on. We're playing a 1v1 game. And so they're just out there and playing and getting after it. Doing some 1v1 there. I mean, we've got two groups on the field right now. A third group's about to come on and these kids are just going. And then as soon as they're done, they'll take it back to the line. Let's see. Speed it up for you.
Good tackle. Well done. Well done.
Yep. So here now we're going to a 2v2 model. So now instead of, and real quick, as you notice, what we'll do is you can see that the coaches are standing there and then the players there. You can put cones down. So if I want 2v2, I'll put two blue cones to my right and I'll put two orange cones to my left. Right. And so now I'll have those kids line up behind those lines. Or if I want to play this 2v1, or if I want to play it 4v2, then I'll put four orange cones to my right, two blue cones to my left. And basically they line up there and the first person in each line goes. And so it's easy for them to know who's going, how many people from each side. And so you can, again, play this exact same game the way they're doing it and just change up the numbers. So now they've scored. So the next four are coming on. You've got the two black, two yellow, and we're just rolling a ball out and they're playing. So the only other version of this you could do is as these kids are playing, I told you about the cones. The other thing you could do is line cones up so that there's a cone on each side of the goal on the far end and maybe a cone on the sideline where the coach is standing right now. So then those players start to come on from different spaces in the field. So instead of all coming on from the same place next to the coach, they come flying on from different spots. And all you do for that is put, a blue cone on one side of the field, a blue cone on the other side of the field, a blue cone by one of the goals. And then same thing with the orange. And you just tell kids, go stand by, one team go stand by orange, one team go stand by blue. Again, when I throw the ball in, first person from each of those cones comes flying into play. So I think, this video is on that YouTube channel. So, if you want to watch this again, it's the same thing I shared in the Soccer 101. I've got these videos on there, so you can definitely go through and rewatch them. Don't tell anyone it's got the Weiss's stuff on there because that's where I used to coach when I filmed them, but I'm reusing my content. So don't tell me it's still my stuff and we were red and black back then. So it's fine. So anyway, yeah, these are the ones I created for that. The other game you can get, let's see, hold on. Yeah, so it's all on my YouTube page here. The other game you can play in this small sided one is two teams on, one team off. So on here, you'll be able to see in a second. Basically, let's say you've got, 9 kids at practice. So instead of playing a full scrimmage of, 5v4 or something like that, you could play you have two teams playing 3v3, and then you have one team of 3 off. So you've got one team of one, you've got 2 colored teams and another one. And as they come on, as soon as they score, all right, as soon as they score, 3 are going to come on, one team stays, and then the team that got scored on goes off. So there's always a team on one end and stay on. So right now the black team is defending that goal. If the black team scores, they'll stay on. If the red team scores, the red team will go and defend that goal on the far end. And the team that's off will come in and play against them. So again, this is a fun little one if you want to watch it. It's 2 teams on, 1 team off. So that yellow team is just waiting their turn, and they're going to come on and take the spot of the red team, or the black team, depending who scores here. So black is scored, so yellow comes on, black is still defending, red is off again. If yellow scores here, the black team will have to go off, and then the yellow will go and defend that top goal. So there's another little game there for you guys. That's also a small-sided option that you can play there. Let me go back to this. So yeah, so those are kind of what I'm talking about when I say small-sided, and you could play those 2 games pretty much every time. I've got other games that I'll send you as well, but the kids love them. They're tons of fun. I play those in almost every practice I play, and kids have a blast. And then the last piece of that is just the scrimmage portion, right? So however many players you have, just get them all playing. If you've got 10, you play 5v5. If you've got 8, you play 4v4. Coach, if you guys want to hop in and play with them, the kids love it. Feel free to, be the goalie or add yourself as a field player. The one other term that we use that I don't have on here is a neutral. So for example, if you've got 9 players at practice, what you can do is play 4v4. So there will be 4 players on the black team. There will be 4 players on the yellow team. And then you might give a blue penny to the one player, and that blue penny is always offense. So if the yellow team gives him the ball or her the ball, then he's with the yellow team. If the black team gives him or her the ball, then he's with the black team. So he's just constantly in the attacking mode, or she's able to go to either side as the possession dictates. So that's kind of the option for odd numbers with the kids, and or like I said, you guys hop in and play. They love it. Let's see. So the U9, U10, nothing really changes here. Everything I just said is the exact same for the U9, U10 practice people. Only thing that changes a little bit is we're still focusing on individual skill development, still super important. You'll have kids that are new to the sport, so absolutely still continue to teach the dribbling, the passing, the shooting, and all of those technical skills. But we do want to start introducing a little bit more at this U9, U10 level, the concept of passing in space and movement, right? Movement off the ball is super important, making sure that we are opening up space and that we are able to pick our heads up and move and pass, because it'll become a little bit difficult to dribble through everyone at this point. So, this is the new frontier of space, and making sure that we're incorporating space into our concepts and our passing and our sessions. That being said, the uneven sided play, so like the 2v1s, the 3v1s, the 4v2s, at the U9s, U10s, those are golden, because all you're doing is, the kids that are numbers down, they just get to go and get after it and defend and be active and always trying to move and win the ball. Whereas you've got the player team that's numbers up. Let's say you're playing a 3v1. Those 3, the only advantage they have is that there's more of them than the other one. So if you can spread out enough, that one player shouldn't have a chance to get the ball if you're just smart and can look up and play it wherever they're not. So those offset number games are really, really good to help develop the passing and the movement, and still make it a fun game where they're shooting and scoring and doing all of that. For the scrimmage, one tip for these guys is, coach as much as you want, as little as you want, but use the scrimmage portion of these practices to teach them about restarts. Use these to teach them throw-ins or goal kicks, or, kind of practice those as you need, but for the most part, let them play. So, if you're trying to introduce throw-ins or goal kicks or corner kicks, maybe we do that once every 5 minutes within the scrimmage half of the practice, right? So don't stop them every 30 seconds to do it. Let them play, and then we stop. Let them play, and then we stop. So keeping it active, keeping your coaching tips, trying to be, between 15 to, 30 seconds max, because otherwise they're going to do cartwheels and butterflies. They might do that anyway. I know mine do. Trying to manage how long you're talking and speaking to them is helpful, because they just lose attention, as we all do still as we're older. Let's see. U11 and above practice. This is where, for anyone who's continuing to coach, I'm throwing this in. Most of our U11 and above coaches know what they're doing. They've been doing it for a while. But for any of you guys who are wanting to kind of get to that, the next thing, this is where we start introducing the tactical piece of it. And the one thing I always say is that soccer is a numbers game, meaning if you can pick your head up and you can go to where there's space or there's more of your team and less of their team, then you're always going to have success. So every time you're getting the ball, can you pick up your head and make a decision about going where there's more of an advantage numerically for your team or for space? Same thing on the flip side, defensively. We'll get to this a little bit further, but as we're defending, if the other team wins the ball, we always want to be one player up on defense. So if there's one forward, we'd like to have two defenders so that we just have enough so that if one person gets beat, we've got a little bit of a support system there. So again, that's the next piece at that U11 and above, is that numbers game of making sure offensively we're finding space and the areas with more of our people and less of theirs. And defensively, same thing. We're making sure that we have enough players that have dropped back or who are helping us defend, so that we have two players to their one in their attack and our defensive end. Positions. So moving from there, that's everything I think for the practice portion for me. Again, I'll send them out. Let me know if you have questions, but just keep it fun, keep them moving, keep it engaging. All the practices this week I was out there, they all had a blast. I think half of them were shooting on the goal and they were loving it. Had best time ever. I think 2 of the teams requested another practice already because they had so much fun at their practice. And I think they stood, shot at the goal, passed a little bit with each other, and then scrimmaged. So don't overthink this. It does not have to be crazy organized, as long as they're moving and having fun. Moving into the game. So this is going to be for the U8s and above. The positions, I've talked about this in Soccer 101 a little bit, so I'm just going to get a little bit more specific in this piece of it. And that is, we've got the goalie. So like I said with the goalie, and I mean this from 5v5 up to my keeper, my goalkeeper for my U11 girls team. She's out of her 18, 90% of the time, if the ball's on the other half, and if she gets it, she'll win the ball outside of her box. She'll dribble it in and she'll pick it up when she needs to. She'll come out, she'll win a ball, she'll pass it out. So I very much encourage her to be a part of the action and be a player on the field, not just a cone that's standing back there and then comes to life as soon as the ball almost gets to her. So encourage those goalies to play and to be a part of the team and a part of the action. And then we've got for the defenders, we have defenders, and we typically break them down into center defender, who is the one in the farthest back or in the middle. And then we have our outside defenders, or what we call wing backs. Because what we do at the higher level is we encourage our outside defenders, or our center defender, whoever, to push up and to go attack. So if the ball's in the attacking half, we want those outside backs not standing there waiting, right, just for the ball to come back if we lose it. We want them also pushing up and engaging in the attack and being part of that action and giving us that numerical advantage that we talked about. So we want those outside backs, or those wing backs, meaning they get up and they attack on the outsides, to be a part of the play. The center midfielders, there are midfielders that hold the middle. They're kind of our core. They're our quarterback. They're our, they're our spine. They're the people that hold our team together and keep us connected. So they're typically box to box players, meaning they go from defensive 18 to attacking 18. And their job is to hold that middle space so that we can win the ball and we don't lose our shape, and our forwards and our defenders all stay connected as we play and move up the field. Our outside midfielders, or wingers, are the outside players, the ones that play on the wings or the outside or the flanks or the sideline, the left, the right, however you like to think about that. They're those outside players that play in front of the outside backs or in front of the wing backs. And we call them outside midfielders or wingers because we'll talk about formations here in a little bit. But as you have players on the field, we've talked a little bit about in Soccer 101 formations, meaning that I might play my team in 5v5. I might play with one defender, two midfielders, and one forward. So in that situation, I only have a center defender, and then I probably have a left winger and I have a right winger, and they're playing a little bit more like midfielders than forwards. And then I have the striker, who would be that forward, meaning usually when it's a striker, it's that one central high player, right? So you've got your highest one player up top, that's your striker. If I change that formation, let's say that I have, for the 5v5, I decide that I have my one goalie And then I'm going to play with 3 defenders and 1 striker. So I'm kind of taking my midfield out a little bit, but what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to make my right defender and my left defender, they're wing backs. So they're pushing forward. The ball's on their side, they're going and attacking. And the one on the other side is staying back a little bit more. So we kind of use these terms because depending on what formation you play, the role of some of these positions can vary a little bit. But that being said, the biggest thing is they all want to get up the field together and they all want to get back together. And we'll talk a little bit more about what that looks like here in the 5v5 and 7v7 and 9v9 setup. So again, those are the positions there. One other note on the forward and the striker, that's that one person who sits high. Almost everyone else on the field is moving up and down, whereas the forward, they do move up and down, or the striker, but they also move laterally. So it's a big job of that striker to know to move across midfield and not just forward and back, but to move side to side as the ball moves side to side to help themselves win that ball and get it up top. So the U8 game. So I'll go through kind of these positions with all of them here. The 5v5 with the goalkeeper. The goalkeeper, like I said, if the ball is in the attacking half, I encourage my goalkeeper to be at the top of their box. So if anything comes, they can come and kick it or pick it up. And I encourage my defenders to get up a little bit higher at midfield. This also is where offside comes into play a little bit, because if you have the defenders that just sit back on top of their goal box, even when the ball's in the attacking half, then, you know, it's tough for there to ever be players offside because the defenders are far enough back that the attackers are never off. So anyway, they push up and they get forward in those positions. We don't have punting in this 5v5 league. It is all throwing the ball out or rolling the ball out. They'll play 25-minute halves, a size 4 ball. We will do all restarts and there will be a referee. When I'm saying we're doing all restarts, for the throw-ins, again, I am emphasizing speed of play and action. So if the throw-in isn't perfect, we're not going to stop every single time for, 10 throw-ins in a row to make them perfect. We will stop and correct them here and there, but there are times that a kid's going to get there, they're going to throw it in quickly, and it may a back foot may come up. We're not going to call them every time their toe comes up for a bad throw-in, or we'll never be playing. Again, we do want to work on correcting them and helping them learn to do throw-ins correctly, but we also want to keep the speed up. So use those practices, use those games, and we can correct them. And the refs, sometimes some of the refs will be a little bit more strict, some will be a little bit more lenient. Our job is to just keep them moving, encourage them to do it quickly, and help them understand, what the rule actually is, and knowing that there will be some leniency here and there on different games from those referees on those throw-ins. Same thing with the goal kicks and the corner kicks. Biggest thing for the goal kick, right, is when you do the goal kick, encourage them to do it quickly. If they can get up there and put it down before everybody gets set up, it's going to be easy. On that goal kick, if they get it set on the line and they just kick it out wide to space, you're almost always going to be clear of trouble. The only place we really get in trouble is when that goal kick goes straight down the middle of the field, right into the heart of all the people. So for the goal kick, the biggest thing you can help your kids do is kick it out wide, get it out to the space. Don't kick it in the middle of the field. And you're going to have a lot of success. With the corner kick, no real logic to that. Just make sure that on the corner kick, you have at least one player that sits a little bit further back, so that if the ball gets cleared, it doesn't go all the way back to your goal with no one to defend that. So just make sure you have one defender that's back at least at midfield for those corner kicks, so you don't get countered on. For the, I guess, when the keeper catches it, make sure they know the difference between the goal kick. If the ball goes all the way out of bounds on the end line, then that is a goal kick. In that situation, it has to go on the line and we actually have to kick it, and everybody on the other team has to be outside the box. But if the keeper picks it up and saves it, remind them that their job is, as soon as they pick it up, they run to the top of their box and they throw it as fast as they can out for their teammates to go and get. So it should be a quick thing. You save it, you run to the top of your box, you throw it out. And if your kids can understand and get that, you're going to have a really, really good advantage out there, because that's the biggest thing I see a lot of those keepers struggle to know is, what do I do once I pick this up? And where do I take it and where do I put it? So if they make the save with their hands inbounds, run, get it in play, throw it out to the side, run to the corner of the box and throw it into that space. Those are the main things for the restarts for the 5v5. The other thing, when I say formations, my favorite for this is a 1-2-1, because it gives you one center defender. It gives you a player on the right side, player on the left side, and a striker. But you can also play with 2 defenders, 1 center midfielder, and 1 forward. Or you can play with 1 defender, a center mid, a left mid, a right mid, and a striker. So play, play with the formation. Now, as I say, formation coaches, you are going to put them out there in one of these, and it is going to look nothing like you put them out there in, and that is totally okay. So moving from that into the coaching points, just coach whatever player is there. If your right midfielder is on the left side of the field and your left midfielder is on the right side of the field, just let them become the new left and right. Let them switch and coach that. You don't have to spend all your time turning blue in the face to get the guy who's standing up at forward to drop back and play defender. Just have the guy who's closest to the ball defend first, and then reorganize when you get a chance and things settle down a little bit to help them understand those positions and where they're playing. But don't make yourself blue in the face to get someone to totally reorganize. Just coach to where they are and how it fits the action that's currently happening. So for example, what happens for me a lot is there might be a kid who I've put up as striker, but he's dropped all the way down and now he's standing at midfield and we've just lost the ball. I'm not going to yell at him to get back. I'm going to yell at him to go win the ball. And then I'll tell whatever kid is slow to get back, I'll be like, hey, just stay up top. Just stay up top right now. And so then we keep our shape. I've helped organize us a little bit. And then once we get to halftime or when they come off, then we talk to them like, hey, when you're a forward, remember, you've got to do this. Okay. So use those times to kind of help organize yourself. Other things, I think, those are the main things. Other thing is encourage them to go and get the ball. So if someone's dribbling at them, sometimes those kids will drop and they'll drop away as those kids run at them. Tell them to go and get them. They might get beat. They might run past them, but if they can just get in the habit of being those players that go after it and pressure the ball and get it, it's going to pay off in the long run. If you can just get after it and apply pressure to those other players. So encourage them to go after the ball and to not sit and wait for them to dribble at them, especially on the girls' side. A lot of the girls will kind of drop and they'll run to the goal to try and defend the goal rather than running to go get the player. Make sure someone is that superhero that's going to go and get that player and shut them down and not give them time and space to get to your goal. I think those are the main ones for the U8 game. It's a fun game. There's lots of scores. Just set the standard for these 5v5 games that they are going to get scored on, and that is okay because you're going to go and score. It's a back and forth game. They're big goals. It's a small field. So a goal is not the end of the world. Get scored on, that's fine. Let's go. Let's just go get it back. Okay. So just know that goals are a part of this thing. So tell them not to be afraid of it or worried about it. The U9, U10 game, same rule here. They play 7v7 in the U9s and U10s. Otherwise, it looks very similar to the 5v5, and the field's bigger and the goals are bigger. And there are a few more players. One thing I forgot to mention on the U8s, make sure your goalkeeper, you bring a penny to the game so that the goalie can be a different color than the rest of your players on the field. But all the set pieces, all the rules in the U9s and U10s, they'll be a little bit stricter than they are in the U8s about the throw-ins. But again, they're going to miss them sometimes. It's not going to be perfect, and we're going to go for flow of the game, but they will call them a little bit more than they do in the U8. We're going to do no punting in the U9, U10 for at least the league play. When we get to the tournament, we might decide then, but I like the no punting just because what it makes them do is it makes them have to throw, it makes them have to think, makes them have to move fast, and it makes it so that you don't just have one kid that can, especially on the boys side, that can kick the ball from one end to the other end and just score goals because they can absolutely smash a ball. So it makes us break out into a little bit more soccer than we otherwise might. The other point to make for the goal kicks for the U9s and U10s, the field is bigger and the boxes are bigger. So don't be afraid to make sure you bring someone in who can kick the ball hard enough to get it out of your box, right? Sure, you want to give everyone a chance to do it, but once you get to the game, if the hardest thing to do is to get out of that goal kick sometimes. So if you've got a player that can take a goal kick and can get you forward on it, don't be afraid to use your player to play it out wide or to help you get out of trouble so that we're not just getting smashed in the face time after time because we just can't get it out of our box. So for those goal kicks, feel free to do that. Other little coaching tip for the U9s and U10s. Again, every coach kind of coaches differently, but I'm a fan of pushing the defenders up, getting everybody up, getting them to play, get them up the field, and not having them sit back on the top of the 18. or the penalty box where the goalie plays. And when you do that, I talked a little bit about soccer being a numbers game. And what that means is as the ball goes up, your defenders just start to move up with that play. And so as they go up, I like to say they keep a little bit of a banana shape, meaning let's say you have a right defender or a right wing back, a center defender, and a left wing back. If the ball's on the left side of the field, that left defender is going to push up and go play and go help defend that. And then you have your center defender and your right defender who sit back and they wait a little bit and they stay behind the play. And that right defender is going to be a little further back than that center defender so that they can kind of take turns stepping and pressuring or getting the ball if it comes off. And don't forget, you've still got your goalkeeper, and your goalkeeper can be that player that stands at the top of the box. So if the ball comes rolling through, they kick it out or they pick it up. So if you have a question about that, let me know. But that's kind of the best way to get them engaged and moving and playing is that little banana shape at midfield. And again, if they've got two players from their team, if there are two forwards standing at midfield, then you do probably want three of your players to be at midfield. But if they've only got one, you don't need three. You only need two. Let's see. Yeah, so I think those are the main things. Everything else pretty much carries over from U8 to 25-minute halves. Still a size 4 ball. Rough stuff is still the same and still no punting. We'd prefer to throw it out or roll it out if we can. All right. So U11, U12 game, I'm just gonna touch on this very briefly because again, what happens for all of you guys is we do an in-house league through U10. We typically don't have enough numbers at the U11 and above levels to have an in-house league because we only have maybe 1 or 2 teams. So we just don't have enough competitive play to create a league. If that ever changes, we certainly could have a U11 or U12 in-house. We just have never had those numbers in the past. So what that means is those U11 teams typically play in a league called CASA. And what that means is they play other recreational communities around the central Austin area. So they make their schedule and they actually play 4 home games and then they travel away in the central Austin area to play their 4 games. So when they move into this CASA league, they play 9v9. There is punting in that. They play 30-minute halves. And then the coaches there also have to help form their schedules and do all of that. So the U11 and above is a little bit more of a commitment as far as you have some away games, but outside of that, it is very similar. And I am really excited about the numbers we had in U11 this season. So for any of you in that U9, U10 group going into, 4th grade, that is what you're potentially looking at, depending on the numbers we could get registered in the fall. Big coaching points for these guys is, really just making sure that that you can get out on the goal kicks, that you can play quickly on the throw-ins, and that your team is getting up and down the field. But nothing different there otherwise. When we get to U13 and above, the only thing to note here is they play 11v11. We don't have a lot of kids at this age. Most of them play select, but we do have 2 rec teams right now. There's a U14 girls team and a U14 boys team, and those coaches are great. So I won't touch too much on this, but just so you guys know, at that age, that is when they begin playing 11v11 on the big full-sided giant field that you see in the high school. And they play 35-minute halves at that point. So refs and rules. I won't berate this. I won't hang on it. Just, I've talked about it enough. The refs are out there to just help us stay organized. Let's make it a fun experience for the coaches. Coaches, shake each other's hands before games, say hi, introduce yourselves. It makes it way harder to yell at someone or get mad at someone across the field when you've at least said hi and recognize that, hey, you're someone in my community. We're all out here for the same thing for the kids. So let's keep it, let's keep it friendly. Let's keep it competitive and in a fun, engaging way. And along those same lines, when you do that, same with the refs, it makes it fun for them to know that everyone's just out there for these kids to have a good time and to keep it competitive and help them learn rules. But, as coaches, as refs, as players, we're not all going to get it right at any point every time. So let's just give each other all the space to do that and set an example for the kids about how we manage things that aren't perfect and that don't go our way, and how to just be good sports out there for ourselves and for the other group. Rule clarifications, I touched on these again. For the throw-ins, offside, and fouls, those are the hardest ones, right? For the throw-ins, only thing I'll touch on those, like I said, is there's going to be some inconsistency. Some of the refs are going to call it a little bit more strictly than some of the other ones. It is, there are set hard rules, but they all manage the flow of the game, which is the main job, keep the players safe, manage game flow. So that's all going to happen a little bit differently for all of them. If I refed, I wouldn't call every toe that comes up. I would remind them like, hey, keep your foot down next time. Hey, and then if they didn't do it after a while, I'd probably, start knocking them for it and making sure that I give the ball to their team and whatnot. So the refs will call those, but just know that it's not going to be there is a little bit of gray in there in the way that they call that rule. Offside is the same thing. They're going to try and catch it. But you guys usually have one ref. On the U10 and below, you don't have linesmen. Sometimes you will, but not always. So they're out there on their own, trying to be able to watch the ball, watch the line. And so there are times I actually lost a game last weekend for my select team. Pretty sure the second goal they scored on us was offside. We lost 2-1. We needed to win that, but we made other mistakes that set that up. And so that's what I focused on with them, is the things that we needed to correct. And it is what it is at times. So offside is a hard rule to understand. In the U8s, it is kind of there, but not really. We just want them to acknowledge it, know it exists, so that as they move forward, it's something that they get, but they're not gonna be calling it a toe off or a step off. It's we're only gonna call it if it's blatant camping out and things like that. For fouls, they're gonna check on the players. They're gonna call fouls. They're gonna get things set up. And just know that some of these younger kids, they're gonna try and blow their whistle, and we will help them, and we're gonna be out there navigating and working with the refs. So but we'll be on them to make sure that they're getting those calls right and keeping the players' safety in line. For a penalty kick, for any of you guys who don't know what that is, penalty kick is if there is a handball in the box by one of the field players, or if there is a foul inside the box, then it's a shot against the goalie. No one can be in the box except the goalie and the one person shooting inside that. Almost all fouls that you get will be direct kicks outside of the 18, unless it's handball by the goalkeeper or a foul that doesn't affect the play. So most of them will be direct kicks. Nothing else new here. Just make sure your kids are having fun, get out there, enjoy it. And, if we just remember, when you're on the sideline, make sure you'd want to watch a video of yourself and everything you're saying and yelling at your kid the next day, and be okay with it. So I think that's the majority of it for me. Thank you guys for watching this. I hope it was helpful, and try not to keep you guys on too long, but really, really excited to get started with the season. Like I said, I'll be posting the schedule. All the schedules will be out by tomorrow morning, Monday. Uniform information I'll send out today, later today. Make sure we get that out there, get that organized, so you guys know where to pick them up. And I'm looking forward to a great season, and thank you guys for volunteering and helping to make this an awesome experience for the kids and helping me make it happen. So have a great rest of your weekend, and we will see you guys out there this week.